Hey there, and welcome to my channel. I am your host, Dancing Johari, and today I'm starting a project for my first collaboration. I'm so excited. Let me introduce you to my collaborators. Lady Luna Emrys, The Merry Mess, our lovely host Lady Dynamite Creates, and Rainbow Fine Art. Our theme for this collab is winter, and I think they all did a great job. You'll just have to wait to see my doll at the end of this video. As usual, materials and supplies are listed in the description box below. Oh wow, you do need a makeover. Badly, you poor thing. Don't be embarrassed. My friend Imogen Claus, aka Miss Santa, can grant you a Christmas wish. Right, Miss Santa? See, everything's going to be fine. Now, what would you like for Christmas? Oh, that's no problem at all. To the workstation! Welcome to my project box. Inside here is our one-armed doll. Poor girl. She was played with a lot in her past life, but other than a missing arm, she's in great shape. Her arm broke off right in the joint, though. She needs a new one, and well, I'm envisioning a workshop elf who was born differently. So we'll just say she was born without an arm. Let's give her one. I have this one that I ordered, and I think it'll look great. Yeah. It won't look the same, but it'll look great as a prosthetic. Let's prep the doll. First, let's remove her head. I suggest boiling hot water to help soften the vinyl, but I was being a bit impatient. Ah, there we go. Next, let's try to remove the old arms joint. Nope. It's not coming out. We may just have to drill through it with a hand drill. It took me a bit to get a new hole started, but I finally ended up with the hole drilled through the old joint. Let's see if this will work. Oh wow, that's a great fit, and it holds the pose perfectly. Time to remove her hair. I use sharp scissors and trim it down. And then I wipe off her face with pure acetone. I also used a Q-tip to get into the tightest crevices. Next, I took a pair of pliers and removed all the hair plugs through the neck hole. That leaves us with some blanket, well, an almost blank head. I'm going to reroute her hair, but the vinyl split while I was removing the hair, so I'm going to have to fix this. But first, let's remove the old paint from her scalp. We're changing her hair color after all. So we don't want that black there anymore. Otherwise, it'll make it look odd. Much better. Okay, now let's repair this. Using jewelry wire, and a really big needle, I go ahead and sew the gap shut. I end up twisting the ends of the wire together inside her head to keep the gap completely shut and keep it from coming loose again. For now, her hairline overlaps a little bit, but for now, let's work on her elf ears. Taking some pins, and some wire. Taking some pins, I poke some holes into her ears at the top and bottom. Then taking some wire. I used different ones than I originally intended. This one just went in easier. I go ahead and make an armature and twist it together on the outside and inside for her ears. I don't want them to be too big, but I do want them to be bigger than they are right now and not human. I then trim the armature wire once I'm happy, and then repeat on the other side. That looks great. Let's get out the Apoxy Sculpt and some gloves. I mix the Apoxy Sculpt 50-50 and then push it on over the wire, armature wire for ears, and then using whatever I had at hand. In this case it was a paintbrush, my fingers, a little bit of water, and a lot of patience. I managed to get 2 really nice ear shapes out of this. It took me a little while. I just played with it until I was happy. Once they're cured, oh wow, they came out better than I thought. It's time to do her hair. I'm using red Allure from the Doll Planet and my handmade rerouting tool. I go around and around, and then I paused at the top and drew in a new hairline. The reason being the old hairline is overlapping and I want to hide the wire. So first I filled in the short side, then I filled in the other side. I angled the hair also to kind of have it so that it would naturally fall away from the part, or the new part. And then I added highlights to the hairline too, once I poked it in with some pins and a little bit of patience. I tied the part out of the way with some elastics. Wow, sorry, this is a little blurry on this particular shot, but wow. She looks so good. Let's glue that hair in. I used Galaxy glue from the Doll Planet and a brush to make sure all the ends of the plugs were coated. I then put it aside to dry overnight. Once it's dry, I go ahead and mask off her hairline and her ears, because we're going to paint those next. So, and also to prepare for the face up. Ah, there we go. Using acrylic paints from the Citadel, from Reaper Miniatures and Citadel paints, I go ahead and paint them a color that's really close to her skin tone. It matched pretty much just about perfectly. I was very pleased with how these came out. Then using other colors, also in acrylics, I go ahead and add some shading and highlights. I used pink for the inside of the ears, a lighter skin tone for the tops of the ears, for the highlights. And then I added, used a darker tone for some shadows. I'm really proud with how those came out. Time to blush. After a couple coats of Mr. Super Clear and some varnish in the ears, I start blushing. I started with blushing her nose, her hairline, her chin, her cheeks, her lips. You know, the usual spots to help breathe life into the living plastic. Into the vinyl. I also keep a kneaded eraser handy in case I make a mistake. I then brush on her eyeshadow. I give her another coat of Mr. Super Clear. And start building more colors. I lightly draw in the shapes of the eyes with the watercolor pencil, including outlining the waterline, and then I fill that in with a little bit of beige. I go ahead and draw in the irises with one green pencil and one blue. The reason being, she's going to have heterochromia. I think this is the first doll I've done like this on my channel. I go ahead and continue filling in the water lines with beige. And I fill in the irises with green and blue. I used a slightly different shade of each for the inside of the irises and gave them a darker color on the outside. I draw in the pupils. And just continue to work on building a color. I go ahead and whiten the eyes, and then brush in the shape, the beginning shape of her eyebrows. And then I fine-tune them with my kneaded eraser. Once I'm happy, I add in highlights and darken up the nostrils. And I just continue to work on building up color and fine-tuning shapes. I also drew increases above her eyes. I also draw in individual hairs and darken the eyebrows with watercolor pencils. Then I add more highlights under the brows and in the corners of the eyes. It's a process, but one that I truly do love. Once my pencils cease to build color, it's time to break out the gouache. Gouache is a watercolor-based paint that's kind of like a jelly consistency. It can be reactivated with water, and well, it dries flat and works great with Mr. Super Clear. I love how it brightens the colors and adds details to the eyes so quickly. I go back and forth between blue and green, adding some gray to the blue eye for detail and depth, and yellow to the green eye for the same reasons. I also brighten the whites, darken the irises, and continue on darkening the eye line with a watercolor pencil. The thing I love most about gouache is it's really easy to correct mistakes. Just dampen your brush and off it comes, as long as you don't spray it with Mr. Super Clear. Once you do that, it's like saving a layer in Photoshop. It's great. After I darkened up the eyeliner again, I went ahead and drew in her lower eyelashes. Triangular shapes this time. I was in a really playful mood and it came out in my art. I also colored those later with red and green. She's definitely looking festive. I also used gouache to add highlights into her eyebrows. Then added darker greens and blues to fine-tune the edges of her irises. I gave her another coat of Mr. Super Clear, then darkened her eyeshadow again. I may have lost the creases above her eyes at some point during this. Oops. And well, I had a mistake that I had made, so I ended up losing some progress. Oops. Oh, we'll just do it again. I also used some water to lift off some color off of a gray watercolor pencil and added some shadows just below her eyeliner. It gives it a little bit of depth and dimension. I went a little crazy with the red here apparently. I decided to go over it again after I did her eyeliner and her lashes in gouache. Come to think of it, I might have made a mistake in that and covering up that little bit of red in the eye, corner of the eye. It actually looked pretty good now I see it here on camera. Oops. Once I'm happy, I add the catch lights, put her side to dry, and then give her 2 more coats of Mr. Super Clear. Oh, after I highlighted her, of course. Once the Mr. Super Clear has finished drying, I add Liquitex gloss varnish to her eyes and lips. Back to the body. Off camera, I used Apoxy Sculpt to enhance her figure a little bit, so let's paint those to match the ears. Using a makeup sponge, I put on the main color, then add shadows and highlights. It really makes a difference. To sharpen the edges, I did use my makeup sponge just a little bit. Helped it make it look more natural and shadowy. Once I'm done highlighting and everything is dried, I go ahead and give her 2 coats of matte brush-on varnish. Then I started off with painting the arm, the prosthetic arm that is, white. With a makeup sponge. I took a couple coats. Once I'm happy with the white color, I added stripes, and I hand painted on white, red stripes. It makes it look just like a candy cane. Then I coated it with 2 coats of Duraclear matte varnish before hitting it with a coat of Mr. Super Clear in gloss. Then, while I had my pastels out, I went ahead and blushed the body and gave her 2 coats of Mr. Super Clear as well. Once the Mr. Super Clear is dry, I took a tiny little circle of performance fabric and glued it in to her joint. This is really nice and stretchy, and it'll help protect the joint, hopefully, from chipping. And it also still helps with the holding a pose. So far, so good! Yay! On to the hair. I used my craft iron to, after I gave it a boil wash, I went ahead and used my craft iron to fine-tune the part just a little bit, to get it laid out a little bit flatter. And then I curled her hair with my metal chopstick and my straightening iron. Then I gave her a trim. I love how her hair came out, but it's so poofy it covers her ears. Oh well. On to the clothes. I decided to give her a festive dress in red and green velvet. I cut out a peasant blouse out of white muslin after I went ahead and cut out the skirt and bodice in velvet, red and green. Gotta go for those Christmas colors. Putting the velvet aside, I pinned the pattern down to the muslin to make a peasant blouse. This is a bit of a strange pattern, and it's by DG Requiem on Etsy, but I highly recommend it. It's actually a really beginner-friendly shirt. You just got to be careful to really pay attention. I freight checked the edges, and then while that dried, I went ahead and added trim to the bottom of both skirt pieces. I decided I was going to do red as the underskirt and green on top. Once the trim is sewn onto both pieces, I sew the skirt pieces together. Maybe I should have put the red on top. Oops. Oh well, let's move on to the bodice. Using Uhu glue, I went ahead and glued the straps together. Yes, they are supposed to be glued like this, but with this fabric, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. It's not laying right. Doesn't look good either. Let's try ribbon. Does it match? Kinda? Maybe it could work. I go ahead and make the middle panel for the bodice green, and I glued a red ribbon down. But you know what? I really didn't like it. The ribbon was just too stiff, and it wasn't straight, and let's just do it all in green. Okay, green, much better. Whew. But I'm still not really happy with those straps. But even so, I went ahead and hand gathered up the skirt, and then attached the bodice. It came out so cute. Back to the shirt. I go ahead and pin down and sew lace onto the cuffs for the arms, for the sleeves, for the arms, and then gathered it up on both sides. Once they're gathered to an appropriate look, I go ahead and pin down and sew the hemline for the top of the blouse. I went ahead and gathered that up too. Looks so cute. Okay, now this blouse is pretty easy. You go ahead and fold it over, wrong side out, pin the sides and the under parts of the sleeves, and sew. Pretty easy, right? Now those two flaps come the back pieces, and then this one solid piece is the front piece. I go ahead and turn it right side out. Yeah, that's really cute. Let's add some snaps. I tried it on the doll, made sure everything fit. Yay! Let's try the dress now. It's going to need snaps too, after all. And well, I decided to remove the straps when I tried it on, and now it keeps sliding down. So I went ahead and replaced the straps with 2 crocheted elastic pieces, and then I put some buttons just for decoration. Now that's much better, and it looks cute. I also added the snaps. She needs an apron. Let's crochet her one. Using crochet thread and a tiny crochet needle, I go ahead and make a pyramid type piece. Then using white, I made the top for the waist, the belt for the waist, and then attached it and then went around to give it a trim. That's so cute. Once that's done, I go ahead and add a piece of Velcro to both ends so I can put it on her. In the same way, I went ahead and made her a white crocheted headband, added buttons and pom-poms up to the top, and called it good. Shoes! Lady Dynamite has some great shoes in her store. I bought these from her in a pack of, when I was buying a bunch of shoes back a few months ago. I went ahead and painted it in sparkly white, sparkly red, green, and gold. Once it's all dry and covered in varnish, I went ahead and added some pom-poms. You know what? Those pom-poms are so cute. Let's put them on the apron too. And one more pom-pom for Shoe. They need it. Okay, those are cute. Really cute. I'm sorry the angle here is so bad. I should have gotten a better one for you guys. After that, I glued on her eyelashes. She's a workshop elf, right? So let's make her a desk with balsa wood. I cut out 4 pieces of balsa wood, sanded the ends, then glued them together before I stained them. I recommend staining first, then gluing once everything is dry. The reason being my hot glue came apart in a couple of areas. Oops. Once the desk was done, I went ahead and painted up these little candles and added wires with my husband's help and a switch so they'll light up. Added some teeny tiny pots. If you're wondering where I got the lights from, I took them out of some miniature lights I got at Hobby Lobby. May I present Candy Claws. Hey Candy Cane, I'm so glad to see you working away in the workshop. And what a beautiful doll. Oh, I also brought you 2 a snack. Gonna be a busy night tonight, right? Hot cocoa and cake should definitely help keep your energy up. Oh, she's for me? Thank you! I love dolls, as you know. I will cherish her always. Okay, I admit, I did go a little overboard on the photo shoot, but I really wanted to make this Christmas special as I could for all of you. I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you so much to Lady Dynamite for hosting this awesome collab. Please check out her channel to see her video, and also on Instagram to see our fellow collaborators' dolls. They all came out so beautiful. I'm so very proud to have been a part of this collaboration with all of them. Have a beautiful and safe holiday season, and Happy New Year. Stay tuned. Bye.